Hello, good day to everyone. Gab here, market analyst from SmarTrade. So let's have our daily briefing for today, and let's start by taking a recap on yesterday's data. Okay, so first thing is we have the Bank of England interest rate decision for the month. So the previous data was 0.75%, and the market forecast at 1%. So the release time yesterday was around 7 p.m. So right here, they are expected it to be around 1%. And as usual, the actual data was 1%. So obviously, the Bank of England, they've raised its benchmark interest rates by 25 BPS or 25 basis points to 1%. So this 1% was actually their highest level since February 2009, which is in line with their market expectations. So as you can see here on the graph, so this was actually their fourth consecutive rate hike uh, by the Bank of England, and right after the data, the Bank of England Governor Bailey held a press conference. So he acknowledged that the recent inflation rate is much higher than their current target, which is for about 2 to 3%. So as of the moment, the inflation rate for England, if we base it on the quarterly basis, is around 8.4%, which beats the highest level last month, which is 7%. So, but he also believes that the monetary policy must balance the inflation and control the economic protection. And right after the speech and also the data, the British pound or the pound in general has plummeted by nearly 170 points. So right here on the 5 minute chart, the price of the British pound against the USD moved in a range of 188.5, and it ended with a bearish trend of 154.4 pips. So that's how volatile the data was, no, right after the release, and also the speech. Also, we have the weekly initial jobless claims for US. So the previous data was 181K, and the market forecast at 185K. And the release time last night was 8:30 p.m. And the actual data was 200K. So if you can still remember, the ADP data for this week was bad data for the ADP, and the same goes with the weekly initial jobless claims. So it means that there's a possibility for the NFP data for today, since it's Friday, first Friday of the month. There's a possibility for the NFP data to be much lower compared to the market forecast. So you have to be very careful, and you have to be very cautious if you're going to trade. I would suggest for you to break even some of your positions before the NFP, since in my own opinion, it will definitely create huge volatility later with some markets. So the actual data is 200K, so higher than the market forecasts. So it means that a lot of people in US filed some unemployment benefits. So the initial reaction for some currencies, for the pound against the USD, the price moved in a range of 39.7 pips, and also 1 hour after the event, it ended with a bullish trend of 32.7 pips. And for the euro dollar, it moved in a range for about 19.8 pips, and it ended with a bearish trend of 4.3 pips 1 hour following the event. And also you have the dollar yen after the initial jobless claims. Yesterday, the price moved in a range for about 36 pips, and it ended with a bullish trend of 25.2 pips. And for today's economic data for the US session, we have to be um, pay attention with this data. So later at 8:30 p.m., so we have the unemployment rate for US and also the non-farm payrolls for the month of April. So as you can see here, the non-farm payrolls for the month of April So the previous data was 431K, and the market consensus is being forecasted to be lower. And also for the unemployment rate, previous data was 3.6%, but it is expected to be around 3.5%. And also the unemployment rate for Canada, so 5.3 for the previous data and 5.2% for the market consensus. So we have to be very careful, especially if we're going to have some positions before the NFP. Okay. And for our key product for today is we have the USD against the CAD. So since we have heavy data for Canada later in US, so most probably this is one of the currencies that will move a lot since both data are high impact news. So for today's support, we have the 1.27 and 4, and also with the extensions of 1.26 and 5, and for the near resistance around 1.29 and 1.296 respectively. Also for the British pound, for today's support, we can look for 1.22 and 4 and 1.21 and 3. And for the key resistance today is around the 1.25 and 5, and also the 1.27 and 5 respectively. And lastly, we have gold. So the price of gold was actually traded back and forth around 1910 and also below the 1880 or 1870 per ounce. But for today's support, we can look for 1863.20 and also 1849.23, and also for the key resistance at 1900.47 and 1923.78 per ounce respectively. So once again, the NFP data later around 8:30 p.m. and also the unemployment rate for Canada 8:30 p.m. All right, thank you everyone for joining our daily briefing. Stay safe and have a great day.